Well, hello everyone. I'm Justin Owen with the Beacon Center, and as you know, we do a lot of videos telling stories about the work we're doing and introducing you to people from across our state. And one of my favorite people in our state that I've gotten a chance to work with is Representative Dan Howell from the Chattanooga area,
Yes,
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
So, Representative, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Justin.
Well, we always enjoy working with you in the legislature on a number of issues, but one thing that we've spent a lot of time on is welfare reform.
That's true. That's something that is close to my heart. I'm kind of passionate about welfare reform and helping those who need help.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what got you into that, and made when you got elected, what caused that to be one of the first things that you decided to really spearhead?
Well, I told someone yesterday that when I look around and find myself in the Tennessee legislature, I'm surprised that I'm here because I know where I came from.
Yeah.
And I came from a very poor childhood. My father and mother were wonderful people, God-fearing people, but we were poor. My father was a sharecropper, and I know what it's like to pick cotton and hoe cotton and be raised on a farm and work
hard work.
But we were poor. And then my father's health failed, and so we were really challenged to try to put food on the table. And thanks to the safety net that's out there, we were able to survive until times got better. And as a result, I became the only child in my family, four siblings, that finished high school. And I was faced with the real possibility of having to quit school and go to work in a factory or on a farm just to put food on the table.
A lot of people have to make that choice.
And there are people today who are still faced with that real possibility, even though the economy is booming. There are people like that, and there are people like that in my district who are just like that. I received a call just recently about a family in dire need. The father had passed away, and a situation that thankfully the safety net is there and we're able to help them. And that's why I've been passionate about welfare reform, welfare fraud. I think one of the first bills I carried was welfare fraud, which the Beacon Center supported.
We did, because if you're not making sure that there's not fraud in the system, that's money that could go to people who really need it and who it could help. And so it's important to eliminate that.
In my research in sponsoring the bill, I discovered that Tennessee actually is one of the lowest states with regard to fraud, but there's still fraud here. It's in the tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
And that, as you say, that's money that could be going to help families who are genuinely in need. Instead, it's being stolen from the taxpayers and from the needy families. So I was real proud of the welfare fraud bill that we passed.
Good for you. And it's interesting you've got that background. I grew up relatively poor, too. My mom, I was an accident, so I was born to an 18-year-old, and we were on welfare for a while until she married my dad. And then I, too, did farm work. Fortunately, I just had to bale hay and raise hogs and cattle. I didn't have to pick cotton quite that.
I don't like baling hay. That's hard.
It is in the middle of the summer.
In
the middle of the summer, it's hard too.
Yeah.
But so, having both been in a situation where we found ourselves somewhat poor and needing help from not just the government though, but from community members, from your church, from family and others. I mean, we're all in this together, right?
That's right.
And the government does play a role. And I think conservatives, and you're a Republican elected official, sometimes get beat up over not caring about poor people.
We do.
But talk a little, but you're a compassionate guy. And so talk about
I like
why
to think that I am. It's interesting. I was in a conversation yesterday with actually a guy who's a constituent of mine, and he was just chewing me out because the Republicans are just for the rich, and all we care about are the rich. And yet, if you really look at the numbers, and I think both parties have their share of rich people.
Oh yeah.
And I think if you look at the approach that the conservatives have taken, our approach is not to just give people a handout. Our approach is to try to help them help themselves. And those are the types of bills that I've sponsored.
Right.
Something that would help them reach out and grab a hold of an opportunity and pull themselves up. And that's the kind of opportunity that I had. And that's what I want to do for my constituents.
And our welfare programs a lot of times not only fail to do that, but they actually inhibit that ability to climb the economic ladder. We've talked a little bit about welfare fiscal cliffs, where say you're a single mom on 2 welfare programs, you've got 2 kids under school, before they're going to school. And if you make an extra dollar in income at certain levels, you're going to lose hundreds in benefits. Right. And it's not fair to that person to inhibit their ability to climb the economic ladder. So we've got to look for ways to make sure that those welfare programs are a springboard out of poverty and don't trap them in it for a lifetime or for generations like we've seen.
And that's something I've appreciated about working with the Beacon Center, is removing the impediments to making a living. And we've been successful in that area.
In a number of other areas well. Yeah, it's broader than just welfare.
And we should not punish people for doing well. If someone is on welfare or someone is on TANF and they are able to help themselves and do better, we should not punish them for that, but continue to give them a safety net until they're able to completely live without the safety net. And I'm a strong proponent of that. I have a situation that I'll mention in my district. District 22, got a call just less than 10 days ago from a local elected official, and he said, Dan, I've got a situation here. A family desperately needs help. They're without means. They can't pay the rent. They've got 5 kids, and they can't put food on the table, and they need some help. Is there anything available? And I said, well, I think so. Let me get back with you, but tell me their story. And so the story was this. It was a fairly young couple, middle-aged. Middle-aged to me is young. But I think they were in their early 40s. They had 5 kids. And the husband was a blue-collar worker, a laborer, and he was injured severely on the job, and about 2 or 3 weeks later, he passed away. So we have a family, a young mother with 5 kids, under 12.
Wow.
Living in a mobile home, and a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I lived in worse when I was growing up. But they had no means of support.
Right.
None whatsoever. And so I got the call, and I immediately placed a call to our liaison at DHS, explained the situation, gave them the contact information. They reached out immediately for some emergency support, and they qualified for TANF, and hopefully they are now feeding those 5 kids. And that's the thing that I advocate, helping those who cannot help themselves.
Well, people fall on hard times, and,
yes, we
and
all,
they
we
need
all
that,
have.
that safety net has to exist. We just have to make sure it doesn't trap people in long term. And we have some opportunities. So
yes, we do.
As you know, we recently uncovered that we as a state have fortunately started doing well as an economy, and so we have fewer people on TANF, which is our program for cash assistance for those who are low income or in poverty. And we've said, if we're going to continue to take that full amount every year, we should look at innovative ways to spend that.
Right.
Because there might be someone who would be willing to work, but they don't have a car. Well, what we could do is partner with Uber and Lyft and provide ride-sharing credits temporarily. Yeah. And once that person has a job, they then have health insurance through work. They're not on Medicaid anymore. They don't need cash assistance. They don't need housing support. You're helping lift them out of poverty with an upfront investment. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard as conservatives to make that case that we need to make those upfront investments because we're going to save a lot more money in the long run. How do you think we can better make that case that there is that role for us as conservatives to help those in need, lift them out of poverty?
I think that one thing that the conservative administration in Tennessee has been able to do is incentivize.
Yeah.
The opposition party sometimes on the national scene seems to take the approach that we just need to give everybody a living wage and be done with it. Right. But that destroys initiative, and it destroys self-esteem. And I think if you really are a compassionate human being and a conservative, I think what you want to do is build self-esteem and help themselves.
Right.
And so I think there are ways, as you mentioned, there are ways to incentivize people to do better in life. And that's what happened to me coming up as a child.
And don't most people want that, right? Yeah. I mean, I think that even conservatives tend to focus on that some people are lazy or they want to take
Yeah.
advantage of the system, that they don't want to work and better themselves. But having both been in situation, no one wants to be poor, right?
No.
And so I think the vast majority of people want to climb out of poverty.
I agree.
They just need a little help along the way.
Yeah.
And I think both sides can figure out how to come up with solutions that help people
think
out
so.
of poverty,
Yeah.
so that the end result is you can run for office and
Yeah.
represent the good people of the state of
You
Tennessee,
might end
right?
up in the Tennessee legislature. Who knows? I'm as
Be careful
surprised
what
as
you wish
anybody.
for, huh?
That's right.
All right, well, thank you so much for telling
you.
your story.
Thank you,
It's
Justin.
very powerful, and you're a testament for somebody who, falls on hard times and needs a little bit of help along the way. But by helping people climb out of poverty, we can achieve great things. So
Okay.
thanks for all you do in the legislature,
Thank you.
for the people of your district, and for our state. And we really enjoy it and look forward to the opportunity to keep working with you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank
You've got
you.
a great staff, and I appreciate your vision and what you do for the state of Tennessee. And I look forward to a good, long working relationship with you.
Absolutely. And thank you for tuning in for this. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.